hear our stories. From 9:30 to 9:45, you will hear overview about EcoPeace Middle East. And from 9:45 to 10, highlight and success stories. And the last part, the last half hour, you will have space to discuss and to comment and to have conversation. We would like to know and to ask you to type on the chat box, where are you joining from today? Could you please type that on the chat box? I'm not sure, Ziad, if you can see the chat box.
You can also use the Q&A to answer this question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the chat does not want to be enabled for some reason.
Okay, so
unless I
guys,
started
use
some-
the Q&A.
Yeah, we can receive some comments now. Welcome, Tarek. Tarek from Jordan. Hannah from USA. Welcome. AG from Jordan. Welcome. Welcome everyone to our session for today. I hope you will learn a lot from us today and enjoy our session. And let's start with you, Ziad.
Okay, thank you, Noor. So, all of you, before we begin, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. How many of you have ever made an assumption about someone before speaking to them? I want you to raise your hand if the answer is yes. Okay, raise your hand if you have ever made an assumption about someone. Now keep your hand raised if someone has also made an assumption about you. Interesting. Some of us had stayed raised their hands, which means something important. Every person in this panel knows what it feels like to be misunderstood, and yet we still misunderstand each other every single day. Today on this panel, you will see three people, a Jordanian, a Palestinian, and an Israeli. For some people, those are just nationalities, but for others, those identities carry emotions, different narratives, complex politics, sometimes pain and history. Some people might look at us and wonder, how do these people work together? How do they trust each other? How do they still on the same panel? And honestly, the question is exactly why this conversation matters. Because peace is often imagined as something signed by governments, a treaty or a handshake, or even a political agreement. But in reality, peace began much earlier. It began in conversation, in community spaces, in moment where humans begin to decide that understanding each one another still worth trying. And maybe one of the biggest problems in our world today is not that we are different, it's that we no longer know how to sit with difference. We live in a world where people are increasingly connected digitally, but emotionally disconnected from one another. We scroll past each other, we debate each other, or we label each other. Sometimes we cancel each other without ever trying to listen. And yet, the problem we face today demands cooperation. Climate change does not set a borders. Water scarcity does not check passports, and pollution does not care about politics. Nature keeps reminding us of something humanity keeps forgetting. We are interconnected, whether we like it or not. So today's conversation is not about pretending difference disappear. It is not about forcing agreement. It's not about ignoring pain or history. It's about something much difficult. How do humans begin remain human with one another, even across difficult settings or differences? And before we continue today, I want my colleague and myself, each one to tell you a personal story, why we're here today, and what's one assumption people often make about our identities. So you can start, Noor.
You're muted, Noor.
Sorry. I often find myself thinking about a simple but difficult question. Who am I? Beyond the labels, beyond the stories told about where I come from, and beyond the narratives people attach to identity. Next, please. These are examples of who I am, how I see myself, and how others see me. For example, I am a woman and the mother of a 9 years boy. My family often tell me that my food is delicious, so in their eyes, I am a good cook. Working with EcoPeace Middle East has also added several important dimensions to my identity. In fact, it has shaped the three main aspects of who I am: young activist, an environmentalist, and a peace builder. As our program, for example, CDYB, which we will talk about it later today, focus on young people. I have to come to see myself as a young activist. Through my work with EcoPeace, I have learned a great deal about environmental issues and sustainable solutions, which has made me environmentalist, an important part of my identity, something that wasn't there before. Finally, I identify as a peace builder. As EcoPeace staff, we work for encourage cooperation and find solutions to shared regional environmental challenges. This contributes to building peace and understanding for the future. In addition to these positive aspects, there are also traits that may not always be viewed positively. For example, my family describes me as overthinker. While it's not necessarily a strength, I recognize that it's a genuine part of who I am and therefore part of my identity. Next slide, please. Before joining EcoPeace, I worked with Japan International Cooperation Agency, Japanese people, for around 8 years. I believe this experience had a significant influence on my identity. As you may have noticed, one of other identity labels I choose is Japanese female. Beyond that, my exposure to Japanese culture and work practices shaped many other aspects of who I am. Through my work on Japanese-funded projects, I adopted values and characteristics associated with Japanese culture, such as Kaizen, which means continuous improvement, critical thinking, independence, discipline, and strong commitment to quality. These experiences become an important part of my identity and continue to influence me even after I joined EcoPeace. Next slide, please. My name means light, the light that guides and illuminates our path. It's mentioned around 40 times in the Holy Quran. A few days ago, I looked up the meaning of my name and discovered that the name concept is also mentioned in the Bible and the Torah. Learning this made me feel even more connected to my homeland, the Holy Land, which is a sacred place to the three Abrahamic religions. It reminded me of the shared values and heritage that connect people of different faiths and strengthen my sense of belonging to this land. Next slide, please. Even though my name means peace, the first conflict I ever witnessed in my life was actually about my name itself. My grandmother chose my name because she believes that names carry meanings that can shape person's life's journey. She insisted on naming me Noor, which means pure light. My mother, however, preferred Noora, softer, more feminine version of the name. In the end, my grandmother's choice was officially used, but my mother continued to call me until today Noora. Looking back to this, become my first experience of conflict and also my first lesson in quiet resistance and different ways holding on to what we believe. Next slide, please. And here, before moving to the next slide, I would like to hear from you answers, labels, one word or two words maximum as an answer to this question. Who are you? From your point of view and from others' point of view about yourself. Could you please type it on the chat box? I can see some word like energetic, passionate, independent, high standard. Yes, thank you for participating in this activity also. Okay, moving to the next slide, please. The city where I grew up is also an important part of my identity. It's very diverse in culture, identities, and religions. In Jericho, Christians and Muslims live peacefully side by side. I studied in a mixed school where students from both religions learned together, and our closest neighbors were Christians. I still remember our neighbor, Auntie Ghada, a wonderful woman who used to bring us a colored eggs during the Easter. I loved that time of the year, coloring eggs and getting ready for the celebrations. Actually, in Palestine, many Muslims also take part in celebration for Christmas and Easter, which reflects the spirit of coexistence and shared traditions in our community. A child in the second intifada is also one of my identity labels. Growing up, I experienced moments that shaped me in ways I didn't fully understand that time. As a child during the second intifada, I was 10 years old. My world was often defined by uncertainty. I remember seeing soldiers in our streets, witnessing fear in the eyes of adults, and experiencing days when something as simple as going outside to play was no longer possible. At that age, I didn't have the language to explain what was happening, but I carried the emotions deeply: confusion, fear, quiet awareness that life had changed. Over the time, these memories didn't disappear. Instead, they became part of me. They shaped how I see the world, how I listen to others, and how I understand pain, resilience, and humanity. I slowly began to realize that what I lived through was not only a personal experience, but also part of a larger narrative that influences how identity is formed. Actually, Gaza War made me going back a lot to my childhood. This is why Stuart Hall idea speaks to me so strongly. That identity is not something fixed or complete, but something that is always being shaped by history, culture, politics, and the stories we inherit and create. Today, when I reflect on my journey, I see how deeply personal experience can become part of a wider narrative about identity and belonging. And it's this connection between lived experiences and shared human stories that continues to guide to guide my interest in understanding culture, identity, and communication. Next slide, please. Thank you for listening to my story. This is my story and who I am. What about you, Ziad?
Okay, thank you, Noor. So I will speak about my environmental peace building journey. Okay. So when people ask me why I care so deeply about the environment, they usually expect me to have a big answer. Maybe a scientific report or a university course or maybe a professional experience. But the truth is much simpler. The story begins with a cartoon, a small robot named Wally. I was young when I first watched the movie. And like many children, I thought I was sitting down to watch an animated film. When I didn't realize was that I was about to watch a story that would quietly change the way I see the world. For those who haven't seen Wall-E, it takes place in future where humanity has abandoned Earth. The planet is covered in waste and the environment has collapsed. People live far away from their consequences of their actions. And one small robot spends his days cleaning up the mess left behind. At first, I watched it as an entertainment, but something about it stayed with me long after the movie ended. I couldn't stop thinking about the world, and I couldn't stop asking myself, how did humanity allow this to happen? How did people become so disconnected from their planet that sustains them? And perhaps most importantly, what's my responsibility in preventing this future? Years later, I still remember one particular feeling responsibility. For the first time, I understood that the environment was not someone else's issue. It wasn't only responsibility of governments or scientists or environmental organizations. It belongs to all of us. And I realized something that has guided me ever since. If I wanted to see better future, I couldn't simply wait for someone else to create it. I had to be part of this creating itself. And so a small animated robot planted a very big question in my mind. What kind of world do I want to leave behind? The question eventually led me toward environmental work and toward climate change and toward environmental activism. And eventually it led me here, standing before you. But as years passed, I discovered something surprising. And here, can we change the slide? Yes, next. I entered I entered this field because I cared about the environment. I expected conversation about water, climate, ecosystem, and sustainabilities. And those conversations happened, but behind them I found something much deeper. People. People with different identities, different memories, and different fears, sometimes different expectations or pain. I still remember one particular moment during a regional workshop. It was the first time for me in my life sitting in the same room with Palestinians and Israelis, engaging in an open dialogue. And to be honest, I entered the room carrying my own assumptions, questions, and uncertainties. Like many people, much of what we know about others came from our narratives or headlines or stories told from distance. Then, during one of the sessions, participants were involved and invited to ask difficult questions. At one point, a question was raised about the conflict and the realities people experience across our region. The room became quiet, and Israeli participants took the microphone. I expected a political response. Instead, he shared a personal story. He spoke about growing up with a very limited understanding of the reality experienced by others. He explained how, for much of his life, he had only been exposed to one narrative and had assumed it was the complete story. Then he described what happened with him when he started meeting people from different backgrounds and different narratives, when he listened to their experiences and learning about realities he had never fully understood before. What stuck with me most was not what he said, it was how he said it. There was honestly and courageous. And one point he spoke about the pain and suffering that people experience because of conflict and violence. And he expressed deep regret that It had taken him so long to understand perspectives beyond his own. I remember sitting there listening carefully, and at that moment, something shifted inside me. I realized that people are not their government or headlines or stereotypes. People are not assumption we make about them. Every individual carries their own story, their own values, and their own choices. And just as no two fingerprints are identical, no two human beings are also identical. For the first time, I met someone whose identity I thought I understood before I actually knew, and discovered something who genuinely wanted peace. Someone who believed in dignity for all people. Someone who was willing to change and challenge his own assumptions and listen to different truth. That experience did not erase difference, and it did not remove complexity of our region, but it reminded us and reminded me of something incredibly important. When we stop seeing people as representative of a group and start seeing them as a human being, now possibilities emerge. The moment became that memories become one of the reasons I choose to continue my journey in environmental peace building. Because I realized that environmental cooperation is not only about water, climate, or shared resources. It's also about caring or creating spaces where people can meet as human beings, spaces where listening become possible, spaces where people begin to understand that despite our differences, we have the same values and we want the same thing. We want safety, dignity, opportunity, and healthy environment. And we want peaceful future for the generation that comes after us. And that made me think back to Wally, because at its heart, Wally is not really a movie about garbage. It's a movie about disconnection, a human being becoming disconnected from their environment, disconnected from their responsibility, and from one another. And maybe this is why this movie stayed with me for these years, because the environmental challenges we're facing today are not only environmental, many of them are deeply human issues. And solving these require more than science. It required communication and trust, and the ability to work together despite our differences is the needed solution. Positive change begins when someone decides responsibility belongs to them, not someone else. A small robot cleaning one piece of trash at a time, a young person decided to care, or a community decided to choose dialogue, or a leader deciding to choose empathy. That realization is what eventually brought me to EcoPeace, a place where environmental cooperation becomes a pathway for dialogue, a place where shared environmental challenges can be an opportunity for people to work together despite their differences. And um, through the journey, I learned that environmental peace building is not about ignoring differences. It's about learning how to navigate them, to realize that our future are connected, whether we acknowledge it or not. And I want to be honest, this journey is not easy. As Noor said, there is days where it's very frustrating. There is days when conversations are very difficult, and days when criticism come from all the directions. We went through days when people question your intentions. We've been asked daily about our intentions. We go through days when progress feels painfully slow. But there are moments when it would be easier for us to walk away. but we choose to continue. We choose silence over stopping. We choose dialogue. And this dialogue is what forces us to continue. Okay. But every time I think about giving up, I remember why I started. I remember small robot, the same robot I'm talking about, who refused to stop cleaning. I remember people whose stories changed my assumptions. And I remember conversation that changed perspectives. And also I remember the meaningful impacts we do in our educational work every single day. Environmental peace building is very difficult. Dialogue across identities, cultures, and narratives is difficult. But difficulty does not mean impossible. And pathway with difficult can be possible. Perhaps that is why we're here today. Thank you so much, and I will leave this floor to Salome.
Thank you, Ziad and Noor, for sharing a very inspiring story. So I'm Salome. I'm the Israeli in the room, which is not always an easy thing to be. Many people have an assumption about what it is to be Israeli. What does it mean? They try to guess my political opinions and so on. But I want to start, like Noor, with a meaning of my name. Salome come from shalom, salam, peace. So maybe it was just written for me to be working on environmental peace building. But as you can hear, my story is more complex than just putting me into boxes of general labels. I grew up in France, so in a secular multicultural community, but I come from the liberal Jewish community. So every Sunday I will go to Talmud Torah, a place to learn what it is to be Jewish. And back then, when I would hear my teachers speaking Hebrew, I would never think I would speak that language one day. I think up to high school, I didn't even know Israel was a country. I never been. It's only for my studies during my bachelor in political science. I wanted to come visit the region. I hope you can hear me well. I see the internet isn't stable. So I came in the region from a program 2016. And back then, I was one of many students who wanted to see the conflict, learn the conflict, meet people to finally see what it is. But also back then, my colleagues at university, they said, no, you go to Israel because you're Jewish. It's obvious. And back then, I didn't realize that maybe it was one of the subconscious reasons that made me curious to come here. Because, this region, for the best and the worst, maybe some of you have come here, it grabs you. Like it's complicated, it's painful, but it's also beautiful. And everyone here is deeply human. Also in Israel and Israelis. It's magnetic and intense. And I think it planted a seed in my head to come back, learn more, and specialize in Middle Eastern studies, which is what I did. But at that time, there are many immigrants in Israel, but I didn't feel connected to them because to me, it seemed like everyone hated their home country because of anti-Semitism and many other challenges. And I love France, I love Europe, so I never thought it would be my life to be here today. So then for my master degree, I specialize in Middle Eastern studies. I did a gap year, half of it in Kuwait, in the Gulf countries. And then I moved to Jerusalem to improve my Hebrew and Arabic and conduct my master thesis, doing interviews around with Palestinians and Israeli. And I thought I was coming for my research and language, but I stayed even more because of COVID and because I found a job. And little by little, this region became not only my field of study, but my life. But Jerusalem, I hope some of you had the chance to visit. It's not an easy city to live in. My Israeli friends were afraid to go to the eastern part of the city. My Palestinian friends were afraid to go to the western part of the city, which is totally understandable. It's just as a French or European who is not used to have all of this in mind when you go out with your friends, it was a lot to process. Even my ex-boyfriend was mad at me because I would put the conflict more in front of his eyes, because in the Israeli society, sometimes people choose to not look at the violence or at what's happening just by their doors. So it's not always easy to be the person to say, look, or come with me, let's meet someone, let's learn. So you can imagine it's a bit complicated. And at some point, I wanted to live by the sea. So I moved to Eilat. It's a city at the very south of Israel by the Red Sea. And on the day I signed my apartment contract, I saw an ad on LinkedIn about an EcoPeace program, Chersi. I will tell you more afterwards. But it's a program where we try to protect the Red Sea together with our neighbor Aqaba. And I really loved the approach to find a concrete topic to work on it together. Because as you know, and as my colleague said, water pollution knows no border. If something happens on my shore, it will happen to the other shore as well. And it's also a great opportunity to build trust. So I was lucky then to start working with EcoPeace afterwards. And the last story I want to say, it's how after October 7, I felt that I was not an observer anymore in the region. I felt like I was part of the pain, the fear, and the responsibility to make this place a better place. And that's why I chose to immigrate officially to Israel and become Israeli on my papers too. And ever since, I'm feeling that kind of dissonance or all these contradictions. Like even a few weeks ago, I was at Eurovision holding an Israeli flag very high for the Israeli delegation, because for me it was important to support them, actually in an area where there was many hatreds and people booing the performer all the time. At the same time, I demonstrate and I'm against the policies of my government. I participated in many reconciliation programs, and I'm for a strong and independent Palestinian state and the freedom of the Palestinian people. So for me, everything goes together, and I don't need to choose one box or one identities or one stories. And I want to really try to remember that in the end, we are all humans. And that conflict or a separation wall shouldn't decide who I'm friends with. So that's what I'm trying to do every day in EcoPeace with my colleagues who have also become my friend. But also like my colleagues said, peace is not a dialogue. It is we really do our best to sit together, listen to each other, feeling empathy toward, and work hard for a better future. So thank you. That was our storytelling part. Now we're moving to another part 3, and we need you to be for that part. So be ready. We're doing an exercise together. We want to know what you hear for the following sentences. I still want to try to use a Menti with you for the ones who have access to continue to be on the computer. For a QR code. I don't see the chat. Oops, sorry, I stopped sharing. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. Normally you can see the questions and you can join. Let's see if you manage to join. Otherwise, I will go back to Canva. But if you go to menti.com and put that code, or just scan it with a QR code, you should be able to join. And we wanted to know if someone says you should come visit us sometime, what do you hear? Is it a real invitation? Is it politeness? Is it social expectation? What does it mean to you? I'll give you a few seconds. So you need to grade from strongly agree to strongly agree. And click on it at the bottom. Okay, it seems that most of the people present here thinks it's politeness. Interesting. And then a real invitation and social expectation is quite close. Does anyone wants to share why they chose this option? If you raise your hand, we can see you and we can let you speak. Okay. It's interesting to see that the results are very close for real invitation and social expectation. Ziad, if it was you, what would be? It would be a real invitation. Can I come visit you sometime?
I think it's a politeness, but it's not real invitation. I'm not sure.
Okay. I see that Asaf is raising his hand. Can we let him speak?
Yes, hi. It's a very interesting question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. In my experience, especially in the middle, it's very culturally contextualized, very different. I'm speaking from Canada, very different in Canada, in the Middle East. If I receive such an invitation in the Middle East, it's very much my experience has been, both my Palestinian colleagues and Israeli colleagues, this is a point of honor. You invite somebody, you mean it. You don't invite them if you don't mean it.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing, Asaf. Well, I hope we all get to have great invitations sometimes. We have another question. Let me see. If someone is silent during a conversation, are they respectful, uncomfortable, disagreeing, deeply thinking? What does it mean to you? Okay, I can see we have a few answers coming already. Okay, deeply thinking seems to win. And then more uncomfortable and disagreeing. So maybe not as much respectful. Does someone want to share why they chose that answer? You can do the same, raise your hand, and we will see you. Okay. Sophia, do you want to share? Can we give the floor to Sophia, please?
Yes, hi. I think this was a difficult question because it really also depends on the non-verbal language I would be able to see in a person if they seem rather uncomfortable or respectful. I think it needs another layer for me to really being able to answer the question.
Yeah, that's very interesting input. You're right. It's not only about the language, it's also about the non-communicated language. I don't remember the body language, like you said. Very important. Thank you for bringing this input. And the last question, if someone speaks emotionally and passionately, are they angry, engaged, or just expressive? I think I would be afraid sometimes if someone is too passionate. Okay. So it's between engage and expressive. Interesting. Is there one to share why they choose that their answer? All right. Thank you for all being so responsive and reactive to this. And now I'm giving the floor back to Noor. Ah, yes. And my last sentence was that most communication problems are not language problems. And that's what Noor and Ziad will tell you in the next parts.
Thank you, Salome. In this section, we will talk about something more theoretical. We will take an overview of the three concepts that we are talking about it from the beginning of this webinar: identity, culture, and narrative. Next slide, please. Yeah. We are going to answer the following questions in this section and coming slides. What do we mean by identity, culture, and narrative? How do these concepts shape who we are and how we see the world? Are they fixed or do they change over the time? What influences the way we build our identity and understand our culture? How do stories, narratives affect our perception of ourselves and others? Can identity and culture be shaped by our experiences, work, and environmental? Next slide, please. Let's begin by identity. As you see, identity is the set of characteristics, qualities, beliefs, experiences, and relationships that make a person or think who or what they are. In simple terms, identity answers the question, who am I? What is this? Why identity matters? Because identity helps people to understand themselves, to make decisions based on their values, to feel the sense of belonging, to develop confidence and purpose, to build relationships with others. So, identity is the collection of things that define who you are or what something is and how it is recognized or understood. Culture. It's the shared system or group or people, for example, Japanese culture, Palestinian culture, and any other culture. Another thing is very important to talk about is the cultural identity. The cultural identity is how an individual or a group feels connected to, chooses, and expresses parts of a culture. Culture can include language, food, music, art, religion, spiritual practices, celebrations, holidays, clothing styles, social customs, and manners, values, and beliefs. Two people can live in the same culture, but have different cultural identities. One strongly identifies with traditional customs. The other feels more connected to global modern influences. And the third one may combine multiple culture, mixed culture. I think that most of us have combined multiple culture. Why culture matters? Culture helps people feel connected to the community, pass traditions from one generation to the next, and understand shared values and history, express their identity. Culture always influences the person's identity, but they are not same thing. There is a difference between culture and identity. The culture shared traditions, beliefs, and practices of a group, while identity how person understands and defines themselves. Next slide, please. Narrative is the story we tell to make sense of ourselves, other people, and the world. It can be personal story, who am I, group stories, who we are, national or cultural stories, our history and identity, media stories, how others are portrayed. Narrative are more than a story. It's a way of organizing experiences into meaning. The same person can even have more than one narrative, depending on which part of their life is being told. Next slide, please. For example, I would like to give you an example of story of two women. Lama is a divorced woman of a 9-year-old boy. She works extremely hard because she has no alternatives. She's responsible for supporting herself, her son, and even her mother, who lives with her to provide help. At the same time, she faces social pressure and stereotypes in her community, where divorced women or single mom are sometimes unfairly judged as a weak. This narrative focuses on struggle, responsibility, and survival. While Sarah is also a mother of 9 years old boy, single mom, but she is described through different lens. She holds master's degree in intercultural communication, and she is committed to continue learning and career development. Despite her many responsibilities, she is active in growing and achievements, constantly building on her skills and reaching new milestones. This narrative highlights ambitions, progress, and self-development. What's interesting in these two stories, not that they are not for a different woman, they are for the same woman. They are different or separated identities and separated lives. They are two different narratives of the same person. These show how narrative shapes perceptions. The same individual can be understood in very different ways, depending on which experiences are emphasized, which context is taught, and which story is chosen. Next slide, please. And the next one. Okay, I think there must be a slide for the three positions and interests. It's okay. Okay, we can go to the slide before for positions and interests. Next. This one. Okay. We have this example, which we teach to our participants in training programs, positions versus interests, in a way to understand what people say they want compared to what they want it. It's often used in negotiation, conflict resolution, and communication, but it can also explained using a narrative story. Position, what someone says they want. A position is a clear, stated demand or opinion. It's usually specific and fixed. It sounds like I want this. Let's give an examples. I want to sit in the front seat. This is a position. We must finish the project today. Another position. I don't want to move the schools. Position also. While interest, why they want it. Interest, it's about the reason. And interest is the reason need or motivation behind the position. It's deeper cause. It answers why this is important to you or to me. Example, I want to sit in the front seat because I feel car sick in the back. We must finish today because I'm busy tomorrow. Another interest. I don't want to move schools because I want to stay with my friends. Why this is matters to understand. Understanding positions and interests help people to solve conflicts more easily, communicate better, find solutions that work for everyone. Instead of fighting over positions, people can focus on interests and often find a win-to-win solution, like switching seat or adjusting arrangements. I would like to conclude here. Maybe next slide, please, Salome. I don't know why they are deleted. Every conversation involves three invisible forces: the identity we care, the culture we inherit, and the narrative we believe. Better dialogue begins when we become curious about all three. Now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Ziad, who will tell you about EcoPeace.
Okay. Thank you, Noor. Salome, can you go back to slides? Okay. So to continue on what Noor was saying, we spoke about how conversation can be very difficult and how it can only appear to us from a positional perspective, not understanding what's beneath and what's behind our words. So in each conversation and in each dialogue, we have three layers. We start with the fact layer, which is the most apparent to all of us. And what's beneath the fact layer is the feelings layer. How do we feel about what we're saying or what has been said to us? And beneath the feelings, it's always the identity. And sometimes when we spoke to others, we can hurt them by our words, and our words can impact their feelings and finally impacting their identities. Next, please. And this slide is about the dangers of what happened. We spoke about the fact part of the conversation, and there is always a common traps that we might fall into during any conflict or during any difficult conversations. The truth assumption, the invention of intentions, and the blame frame. Sometimes when we spoke to each other, we assume that we are the right and they're wrong, and our story is the only truth in the whole story. Or sometimes we can assume that their intentions behind their words or actions or behaviors. Or on the other cases, we just find a person to blame instead of working to correct a solution or find a solution or brainstorm options. Okay, now we're going to jump into the example of EcoPeace, the environmental peace building. And what is EcoPeace Middle East? Okay, yes. So EcoPeace Middle East is an environmental peace building organization, was founded in 1994. It has an objective of protecting the environmental shared heritage and promoting cooperation efforts, hoping for achieving regional sustainability and creating the lasting conditions for peace. EcoPeace with the current years and during the current conflict has we believe in non-violence, and we believe in peace, and we believe that we will not support any violence or any murder in the region, especially for civilians. And for the last few months and the last years, we've been continuously trying to collect donations and support other organizations to supply wash aids and humanitarian aids into Gaza. And in EcoPeace Middle East, next slide, please. And with the current reality and the situation that our region has been suffering from, we have the vision of not only reinforcing climate security, but hoping for regional peace. And we're trying to focus in more resilience communities and supporting the human and the local communities. And we're focusing also to achieve the just peace between people and between the nature and environmental cooperation. Okay, in EcoPeace Middle East, we have two approaches. Next slide. In EcoPeace Middle East, I'm trying to go fast to catch the final part. Okay, in EcoPeace Middle East, we have what's differentiate us among other organizations is we're trying to work into two parallel approaches. We have the top-down approach and we have the bottom-up approach. In the bottom-up approach, we're having educational programs across the three countries. We're having awarenesses campaigns. We're having tours among the communities, and we're having projects that empower association and local communities. And the bottom-up approach and those projects complement the top-down approach, where we try to work with the policymakers and decision makers to influence the policies, to enhance and to implement a better reality and to impact the environmental reality positively. And in these two approaches, and let's talk mainly about the educational programs. So in EcoPeace Middle East, educational programs are the cornerstones of many impactful achievements we have achieved in the past years. So in educational programs, we work with all the diverse communities among the society. We work with young people, we work with teachers, we work with students, and we work with universities. Also, we work with associations from a very local communities. And by doing this, we're trying to impact and to influence and adapt the environmental skills and awarenesses that can lead to a better reality and lead to leaders in among the communities that can carry the environmental work into a better future. Next slide. And Noor will talk about the example of climate diplomacy program.
Climate and Water Diplomacy for Young Professionals, the CDYP program, focuses on creating a leadership group of young professionals with knowledge on water reality, challenges, and opportunities, as well as diplomacy and negotiation skills. Each cohort, the 50 participants from each country, 50, in total 150, their ages between 20 to 35, who are from all over the region. Participants pass the selection and interview process to be included in this program. This learn about many topics. They will learn about many topics during the first national training, including the concept of water diplomacy, the water reality climate crisis, not only in Palestine or Israel or Jordan. They learn about it in the whole region, where we also equip them with negotiation techniques and skills. Our way of teaching is practical way. We use simulations and inviting diplomats to give them space to discuss with them and practice the learned skills. They also participate in many activities that allow them to practice the knowledge they had gained about water and negotiation. After finishing the national basic phase, half of the participants are choose for CDYB advanced phase, where they learn more skills like public speaking, storytelling, and they learn how to start, design, pitch, and map their environmental projects in a group settings. They will then compete with other participants from Israel and Jordan in the final regional training. Salome will tell us about Shared Sea program. Floor is yours, Salome.
Thank you, Noor. Another education program we have in EcoPeace is Shared Sea. The more region-specific program we have between Aqaba and Eilat. So Aqaba at the very south of Jordan and Eilat at the very south of Israel. As you can see on the pictures, both cities are very close to each other, like 5 kilometers. So the cooperation is quite natural. We work with young professionals, youth, teachers, and Red Sea keepers who are like more advanced professionals. And similarly to the program Noor presented, we have a first part of a program that is capacity building, seminars, learning from researchers and organizations locally, but also trying to learn outdoors, like you see on the picture here, and learning from the field using place-based education. And then with our participants, we do projects in the city. We try to map the needs and do a project accordingly. For example, in Aqaba, there is a law that forbids plastic bags, but like in many cities around the world, you know, there is a law and the change is not automatic. You need the civil society. So they were very lucky to have the participants who work with the businesses, bakeries, pharmacies, malls, restaurants, markets, everything you can think about. They did surveys, market analysis, and a campaign. You can see the logo here, eco-friendly bags in Aqaba. And then we started also to do paper bags together with ACISA, the governmental local authority, and the Women Association. We established a paper factory in Aqaba last summer, and we're doing paper bags ever since for the community and businesses in Aqaba, with a vision maybe to broaden the expansion to other cities around the Red Sea in the future. And in parallel, in Eilat, we did eco bags, like bags out of old t-shirts that were about to go away, or kite surfing material, which is quite resistant. So, and for that projects in Eilat, we work with elderly association, with our participants, because also, you know, exchanging knowledge between generations is very important and precious. So this is us, this is EcoPeace. And this is also an opportunity to say thank you to our leadership, our managers, and the 3 directors you saw here, Nada Majdaleni, our Palestinian director for the Palestinian office, Yana Abu Taleb from our Jordanian office, and Gidon Brongber, our director from the Israeli office. Because if it wasn't clear, you know, we are one institution, but with 3 offices that manage to work together no matter what. So on this note, thank you very much to all of you. And now we open the floor to questions and discussions, remarks, anyone want to share. So same, you can use either the Q&A on Menti, also I can do the questions on the screen, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions or remarks.
Also, you can raise your hand if you have any question or any comment.
So Ziad, I see that Noor Al-Zioud has her hand raised, and we have a question here. Maybe we can let Noor ask her question first. What do you think?
Okay, yes.
Welcome, Noor. You can open the mic.
Okay, hello everyone. I really enjoyed this session and learned a lot about of different cultures and identities influence, communication and understanding. Thank you to speaker for the valuable discussion. It was very inspiring and useful. And thank you. Uh, Not yet any questions.
Thank you, Noor. Okay, we have a question. Can you share more on how do you work during the war? Who want to share? Okay, so I will start. For me, I always know that in all the three offices, we share the same morals and the same values, especially when in the what's going in the region. So it's not about that it's a difficult moment. Yes, for sure, it was very difficult moment for us to come back and to cooperate and to work together. But the as long as all of us in the three offices, we believe in the same values, we believe in the same morals. So eventually, we're in the same team. We're against what's been happening, and we're trying in all of our projects, in all of our efforts, to do something and to contribute into ending this war and to making a peaceful region.
Maybe to quickly add on what Ziad said, in EcoPeace, we also got lucky that during the war, our managers really invest in our mental health. We had the opportunity to do a mindfulness process with an expert to also learn how to listen to how we feel and to breathe for a moment. So it was a good way to be better connected to our emotions, acknowledge them, first in our offices nationally, to then be able to work regionally again as well. Noor, do you want to add anything, or should we move to the next question?
Your answers are more than enough. Let's move to the next question.
How do you navigate interpersonal conflict and communication during conversations about environmental peace?
Okay, so for me, we go through these things almost daily, and sometimes, as I said, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's easier for any one of us to just give up, but as long as we believe, we know we have been into the conflict for years ago, for many years, and nothing has been fixing the reality and the situation that we're living at. So trying the diplomatical approach and trying the environmental peace building, it's been working for us, and it's a small baby steps, but we're trying to do something. and we're still navigating interpersonal conflicts every single day. But as long as we believe in the morals that we're working among, and we believe in our values, we care about the region, we care about the communities that we're living among, so we know that we're doing the right thing.
Can I add to yours, Ziad, to your answer?
Yes.
We believe in EcoPeace that water doesn't know borders. This is our beliefs, and from this we work. Actually, what I have already, or what was already mentioned on this webinar, this the things that helped me a lot to navigate my conversation with the other side, especially the techniques that we explained to, like the interest versus positions. These are important techniques. We learned from it and we teach it to our participants in CDYB program. So we believe this is very important skills that everyone working in such sector need to learn and to have. Thank you.
Maybe I will just add something small, saying that, we try to practice active listening, and this way also to really listen to each other, just to listen and try to convince the other one we have to do the seminar this way. It just we need time. Every event we prepare it in advance, so we have enough time to discuss everything in details and avoid any. We don't have conflict that could be too hard, but we have good communication skills and in EcoPeace, in my opinion, to manage the situation we disagree. I don't see any other questions. Are you sure no one has something they can share? It can be experience you had in the region or in your community, or anything related to our topic today.
So that's great. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure having you in the panel. And you can always reach out to visit EcoPeace website. You can find the website, you can reach out to us, and we're everywhere ready to support and help any group of communities.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here, for hearing our stories about our work and everything. Thank you.
Maybe let's just share EcoPeace website on the chat.
I don't know if we have chat.
Yeah,
You
I
can
forgot
put in
about it. In the Q&A.
Q&A, yes.
So as Ziad said, thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you to the organizers. And have a good afternoon or day, depending where you are.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.